The morning sun rose over the rocky terrain of Nova Terra, casting long shadows across the metal walls of Outpost Frontier. Commander Jack Mitchell stood at the observation deck, his weathered face reflecting years of service in the harsh environments that had become humanity's new home. The red dust of the planet swirled in the fierce winds outside, a constant reminder of why other species called Earth a death world. "Commander, the alien ship has entered orbit," said Lieutenant Olivia Winters, her voice steady despite the historic moment unfolding. "Their shuttle will land in 20 minutes. Jack nodded. "Tell everyone to be on their best behavior. First impressions matter." The landing pad had been cleared of the usual equipment and vehicles. Jack stood with his small team as the silver shuttle descended from the clouds. It moved with a grace that human technology hadn't yet achieved, barely disturbing the dust as it touched down. When the door opened, Jack's first thought was that the aliens looked oddly delicate. The Viridians stood slightly taller than humans, but had thin limbs and large eyes that blinked rapidly in Nova Terra's bright sunlight. Their skin had a blue-green tint that shifted with their movements. "Welcome to Nova Terra," Jack said, raising his hand in greeting. "I'm Commander Jack Mitchell of the Earth Defense Force." The lead alien stepped forward, a small device at its throat glowing as it spoke. "I am Ambassador Zinn of the Viridian Collective, representing the Galactic Conclave. We are surprised to find your species thriving in such conditions." Jack smiled. "Humans adapt. It's what we do best." The diplomatic meeting moved inside the base. In the conference room, Olivia noticed how the aliens flinched at the sound of the ventilation system, their eyes widening when a small tremor, common on Nova Terra, shook the room. "Your species evolved on Earth, correct?" asked Ambassador Zinn, studying a holographic display of human history. "A planet with extreme temperature variations, dangerous predators, natural disasters, and constant warfare. We call it home," Jack replied. "Though we've had our challenges." The ambassador exchanged glances with his aides. In the Conclave's classification system, Earth is categorized as a Class 12 death world. Most spacefaring species evolved on worlds rated Class 3 or below, what we call garden worlds. "Garden worlds?" asked Dr. Peter Grant, the base's chief scientist. "Planets with stable climates, limited predators, and natural resources easily accessible," explained Zinn. "Environments that foster cooperation rather than competition." Jack leaned forward. "And yet here we are, among the stars like you." "Indeed," said Zinn, his voice carrying a new edge. "That is precisely what concerns the Conclave." The meeting continued for hours, with the aliens asking detailed questions about human biology, psychology, and military capabilities. The mood grew increasingly tense. Later that day, Olivia was checking the base's perimeter when she spotted one of the Viridian aides using a device near the defense systems. She approached silently, her years of training making her footsteps nearly silent. "Interesting equipment you have there," she said, making the alien jump. "What exactly are you scanning?" The alien quickly put away the device. "Simply scientific curiosity." Olivia crossed her arms. "In a restricted area. I think Ambassador Zinn needs to explain this." When confronted, the ambassador's demeanor changed. "You must understand, Commander. Species from death worlds are unpredictable. Your biology is built for survival at all costs." "So you were spying on us," Jack said, his voice low. "Gathering information," corrected Zinn. "The Conclave must assess potential threats." "Threats?" Jack's eyes narrowed. "We welcomed you in peace." "For now," said Zinn, moving toward the shuttle. "But Deathworlders always resort to violence eventually. It is in your nature." The Viridians departed abruptly, their shuttle rising into the orange sky of Nova Terra. As Jack watched them go, Olivia stepped beside him. "What happens now, Commander?" "Now, we prepare," he said, "because I don't think they're coming back to talk." The first contact had failed, and somewhere deep inside, Jack knew this was just the beginning. 3 months passed without any sign of the Viridians. On Earth, most people went about their daily lives, unaware of the tension building in space. But in the control room of the U.S. Defiance, Admiral Ethan Pierce didn't have that luxury. "Admiral, we're detecting multiple ships entering the system," said Officer Linda Garcia, her fingers moving quickly across the glowing control panel. "They're coming in near Jupiter's orbit." Ethan moved to the main view screen. The massive Earth ship held position at Jupiter's Lagrange point, watching and waiting. "How many?" 12? "No, 20. Sir, they keep coming. I count over 50 ships now." The bridge fell silent. Earth's entire fleet numbered only 38 vessels. "Send word to Earth Command," Ethan said calmly, though his heart raced. "And get me visual." The screen flickered, showing sleek silver ships moving in perfect formation. They were beautiful in a cold, deadly way. "Sir, they're hailing us," Linda said. On screen, Ambassador Zin's face appeared, but the friendly diplomat from 3 months ago was gone. His expression was hard, his large eyes narrowed. "Admiral Pierce, the Galactic Conclave has reached its decision regarding humanity." Ethan straightened his uniform. "We're listening. The Conclave has determined that unrestricted human development presents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. Your species has been classified as a Class A threat." "Based on what?" Ethan demanded. "We've never attacked any alien civilization. Your potential for violence is evident in your history and biology. The Conclave acts to prevent threats, not merely respond to them." Zin paused. "However, we are not without mercy." The screen changed to show a document in both alien symbols and English translation. "These are our terms," continued Zin. "First, humans will surrender all military vessels and weapon systems. Second, you will accept Conclave observers on all colonies. Third, your species will remain confined to the Sol system until the Conclave determines you have evolved beyond your violent nature." Ethan read through the document, his jaw tightening. "And if we refuse?" "Then the Conclave will be forced to implement containment protocols," Zin said smoothly. "You have 1 standard month to comply." The transmission ended abruptly. Linda looked up from her station. "Sir, I've sent the full transmission to Earth Command. President Carter is calling for an emergency meeting." Back on Earth, the United Earth government gathered in the underground chambers of New Geneva. The room buzzed with angry voices. President William Carter, a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes, called for order. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face the greatest threat in human history." Dr. Samantha Reyes, head of xenobiology, stood to address the assembly. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, her face grim. "Mr. President, I've been studying the Conclave archives they shared during first contact. I found references to other Deathworld species they've encountered." She projected images onto the main screen. "These species no longer exist as independent civilizations. The Conclave has pacified them." "Pacified?" asked Defense Secretary Joe Palmer. "Their worlds were bombarded from orbit. Survivors were relocated to controlled habitats." Samantha's voice was flat. "They were essentially turned into zoo exhibits." The room erupted in outrage. President Carter raised his hands for silence. "Dr. Rice, in your professional opinion, will the Conclave negotiate?" "No, sir. They see us as animals that need to be tamed. Our very existence terrifies them." Carter nodded slowly. "Then our path is clear." He turned to the assembly. "I will not surrender humanity's future to alien dictates. We have 1 month to prepare our defense." Across the solar system, the message went out to all human settlements. Prepare for war. On the U.S. Defiance, Admiral Pierce watched the Conclave fleet through the view screen. "Send a message to all Earth ships," he ordered. Battle stations. The ultimatum had been delivered. Now the Deathworlders would show the galaxy why they had survived Earth for so long. The massive underground bunker of Earth Defense Command buzzed with activity. General Ryan Phillips stood before a holographic map of the solar system, watching as red dots representing conclave ships continued to appear. "They're positioning forces near every human colony," he said to the gathered officers. "Mars, Europa, Titan, all under watch." Captain Nicole Bennett, her dark hair cut short for combat, pointed to the outermost colonies. "We need to evacuate the smaller outposts. They won't stand a chance in direct conflict." Ryan nodded. "Already underway. We have 26 days until their deadline expires." "If they even wait that long," Nicole added quietly. In a different section of the complex, engineer Kevin Matthews hunched over strange pieces of technology. His workshop was filled with parts salvaged from previous alien encounters, including a damaged Viridian scout ship from years ago. "The problem is their shield technology," Kevin explained to his team. "It blocks our conventional weapons completely. But look here." He pointed to a diagram showing energy patterns. "Their shields operate at specific frequencies. If we can adjust our weapons to shift rapidly between frequencies." A young engineer named Lily Chen finished his thought. "Then we can punch through during the microsecond gaps in coverage." Kevin smiled. "Exactly. Get me those weapon modifications for testing in 6 hours." Meanwhile, Captain Bennett led a small team aboard a stealth shuttle. Their target, a small conclave communication relay on the dark side of the moon. The shuttle's surface absorbed light rather than reflected it, making it nearly invisible against the blackness of space. "Remember," Nicole told her 4-person team, "this is intelligence gathering only. We need to know what they're planning, not start the war early." The shuttle landed silently on the lunar surface, half a mile from the alien structure. Nicole and her team moved across the gray dust in specialized suits that masked their heat signatures. Inside the relay station, they found only automated systems. Nicole nodded to Specialist Greg Dawson, who connected a translation device to the alien computer. "Got something," Greg whispered through the comm. "Looks like attack plans. They're not waiting for the deadline." Nicole moved closer to see the screen. "When?" 3 days from now. They're targeting our major defense installations first, then population centers to force surrender." A sudden alarm blared through the station. "We've been detected," Nicole said. "Download what you can and move." The team raced back to their shuttle, alien drones already emerging from hidden compartments in the station. They barely made it out, the shuttle accelerating hard as energy beams cut through the space behind them. Back on Earth, Commander Frank Rodriguez trained special forces for ground combat. His soldiers practiced in environments designed to simulate alien ship interiors. They evolved on worlds with few threats, Frank told his troops as they ran through the course. "Their ships are built for efficiency, not combat. No redundant systems, no backup power. That's our edge." He watched as a squad used climbing gear to move along the ceiling of the training room. "They'll expect us to fight like them, moving down corridors, following their rules. We won't. Humans are apex predators from a death world. We'll come from above, below, through walls if necessary." A soldier raised her hand. "Sir, what about their technology advantage?" "Technology doesn't win wars," Frank replied. "Soldiers win wars. And they've never faced soldiers who evolved on Earth." As the countdown to conflict ticked closer, human preparations intensified. Civilian ships were retrofitted with weapons. Food and supplies were stockpiled in hardened bunkers. Children were evacuated to the most secure colonies. On the U.S. Defiance, Admiral Pierce received Captain Bennett's intelligence. He immediately contacted Earth. "Mr. President, we need to accelerate our timeline. The Conclave isn't planning to wait for their own deadline." President Carter's voice was grim over the secure channel. "Understood, Admiral. Implement War Plan Alpha. May God help us all." Throughout the solar system, humanity braced itself. They had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day, that forced them to adapt or die. Now they would show the galaxy what Deathworlders could do when pushed too far. The time for talking was over. Now it was just war. The attack came at dawn, Massive conclave ships broke through Earth's atmosphere, their silver hulls gleaming in the morning sun. Defense systems blared warnings across every continent as the alien vessels positioned themselves above major military installations. In New Chicago, civilians ran for the underground shelters as buildings shook from the shockwaves. The city's tall towers swayed dangerously as a conclave cruiser hovered overhead, its weapons charging. "All squadrons, engage," ordered Air Command. "Protect the evacuation routes." Flight Lieutenant Maria Diaz climbed into her fighter, the newest XF-307, with Kevin's shield modifications installed. Her hands moved quickly over the controls as her squadron of 12 fighters launched from the hidden base beneath Lake Michigan. "Stay in the clouds," she told her pilots. "Use the weather to our advantage." The alien ships moved with precision in the upper atmosphere, but seemed reluctant to descend into the thick cloud cover where a storm was brewing. Maria smiled grimly. The conclave pilots had trained in the peaceful skies of garden worlds, not in the violent, unpredictable atmosphere of Earth. "Eagle Squadron, follow me," she said, leading her fighters into the heart of the storm. Lightning flashed around them as they emerged behind a conclave destroyer. "Target their engine sections," Maria ordered. "Switch weapon frequencies as you fire, just like in training." The human fighters released missiles that changed energy signatures mid-flight. The first volley bounced harmlessly off alien shields, but the second round, hitting at precisely calculated frequency shifts, broke through. Explosions blossomed along the destroyer's side. "It's working," shouted her wingman. "Their shields can't adapt fast enough." The destroyer began to list, its perfect formation broken. More human fighters converge, driving home the advantage. With a series of bright flashes, the massive alien ship began to fall from the sky. "Don't celebrate yet," Maria warned. "Guide it away from the city." Using carefully aimed shots, they forced the crippled ship to crash into Lake Michigan, sending massive waves crashing against a shoreline, but saving thousands of lives in the city. On the ground, Sergeant Carl Bishop and his platoon fought through the rubble of the Western Defense Complex. The initial bombardment had collapsed half the base, but the underground sections remained intact. "Move, move, move," Carl shouted as alien troops deployed from landing craft. Unlike their ships, the Viridian soldiers seemed hesitant, moving in tight formations and stopping frequently to check their surroundings. "They're not used to fighting in gravity like ours," said Private Donna Lee, taking aim with her rifle. "Look how they struggle to move in their armor." Carl nodded. "Use that against them. Aim for their joints. Their suits aren't designed for Earth combat." The human soldiers used the terrain to their advantage, popping up from rubble to fire, then disappearing before the aliens could respond. They led the enemy troops into collapsed buildings where the alien soldiers' heavier frames and unfamiliarity with the terrain slowed them down. Near the edge of the complex, Carl spotted a damaged alien shuttle. "Cover me," he ordered, then sprinted toward the craft while his team laid down suppressing fire. Inside the shuttle, he found the controls still active. "Command, this is Sergeant Bishop. I've secured an intact enemy shuttle. Requesting science team for immediate study." Within an hour, Dr. Alan Foster arrived with a technical team. They quickly began analyzing the alien technology. "This is incredible," Alan said, examining the propulsion system. "Their tech is advanced, but it's not built for combat damage. No redundancies, no backup systems." "Can we use that?" Carl asked. "Absolutely," Alan replied. "Every system has a single point of failure. Find it, and their whole ship goes down." As night fell on the first day of war, humanity had suffered heavy losses. 3 major bases had been destroyed, and the space station in orbit had gone silent. But the aliens had lost 7 ships, far more than they had expected. In a secure bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Carter addressed what remained of Earth's leadership. "Today we have shown the conclave that Deathworlders will not surrender. They came expecting an easy victory. Instead, they have learned what humans do best: survive against all odds. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, the message spread. The fight had just begun. 3 weeks into the war, humanity fought for survival across the solar system. The Mars colony had fallen silent after a week of desperate messages. Jupiter Station maintained complete radio silence, hoping to avoid detection by the Conclave fleet. On Earth, Colonel Patricia Nelson stood at the edge of a dense Amazon rainforest, watching as her troops set traps among the trees. Sweat ran down her face in the oppressive heat, but she smiled as she checked her tablet. "The alien patrol is heading this way," she told her second-in-command. "Right on schedule." Patricia's strategy was working across the globe. After losing the initial battles for control of major cities, human forces had retreated to Earth's most extreme environments, places where their lifetime of adaptation gave them an edge. The Viridian soldiers moved awkwardly through the thick jungle, their environmental suits struggling with the humidity and heat. They jumped at every sound, weapons raised at the calls of birds and monkeys. "Now," Patricia whispered into her comm unit. Her soldiers, camouflaged in the trees and undergrowth, triggered their traps. The forest floor collapsed beneath the aliens, dropping them into deep pits. Others found themselves tangled in simple but effective net traps. The few who escaped the initial ambush were quickly surrounded. "Take their weapons and equipment intact," Patricia ordered, "then move to the next location." Similar scenes played out in the Sahara Desert, where human troops used sandstorms as cover for their attacks. In the Arctic Circle, special forces in winter gear ambushed alien patrols unused to functioning in extreme cold. In orbit, Admiral Pierce implemented Operation Thunderstorm. The remaining Earth fleet hid within the radiation belts of Jupiter, using the intense electromagnetic disturbance to mask their presence. The Conclave ships avoid the radiation, Pierce explained to his captains via secure channel. Their systems are built for efficiency, not durability. They're designed for space travel, not space warfare. The human ships were retrofitted with extra shielding, allowing them to venture deeper into Jupiter's radiation than any Conclave vessel would dare. From this hiding place, they launched hit-and-run attacks on the alien supply lines. Back on Earth, engineer Kevin Matthews worked day and night in a hidden lab deep in the Appalachian Mountains. The captured alien technology had given him new ideas. "Their systems are too perfect," he explained to Dr. Rice as they examined a Conclave computer core. "They've engineered out all redundancy, all waste. It makes their tech efficient but fragile." Kevin's team had created a new defense system that incorporated biological elements, living tissue that could adapt to changing attack patterns just as human immune systems adapted to disease. "We're putting these systems in our remaining satellites," Kevin said. "When the Conclave tries to jam our communications or hack our networks, our defenses will learn and evolve." As the first month of war came to an end, a new pattern emerged. The Conclave still held orbital superiority and controlled major population centers, but they couldn't root humans out of the harsh regions of Earth. Every time they sent forces into the deserts, jungles, mountains, or oceans, those forces took heavy losses. In her underground command center, Colonel Nelson received reports from around the world. Resistance cells were growing stronger, not weaker, as humans adapted to guerrilla warfare. The Conclave, expecting a short conflict against an inferior enemy, found themselves in a prolonged war against an opponent who thrived in adversity. "Send word to all commands," Patricia told her communications officer. "It's time for Phase 2. We stop running and start hunting." In space, Admiral Pierce gave similar orders. His fleet of 32 ships, hidden and repaired in Jupiter's shadow, prepared to strike at the heart of the Conclave force. For the first time since the war began, humanity was ready to take the offensive. The Deathworlders had absorbed the initial blow and survived. Now they would show the Garden Worlders what that meant. 8 months into the war, Earth looked different. Many cities lay in ruins, but human resistance grew stronger each day. The Conclave ships, once gleaming and perfect, now showed signs of wear. Their hulls were scarred from battle damage that their repair systems couldn't keep up with. General Phillips stood in the war room of the last major human command center, a facility carved deep into the Rocky Mountains. Holographic displays showed Conclave fleet positions throughout the solar system. "They're getting sloppy," he said to the assembled officers. "Their formation gaps are widening. Their response times are slowing." Captain Nicol Bennett nodded. "Their ships were designed for short campaigns. They expected us to surrender in the first week. Instead, we forced them into a war of attrition," Phillips replied. "Now it's time for Project Phoenix." The plan was bold, perhaps even desperate. A direct assault on the Conclave command ship, a massive vessel that had stayed safely behind the main battle groups. If they could capture or destroy it, the alien fleet might lose coordination. Nicol would lead the mission. Her team had spent months training in a replica of Conclave ship layouts, built using data from captured vessels. They would use a modified stealth ship, its hull coated with materials that absorbed rather than reflected sensor scans. "We leave tonight," she told her 12-person team. "One way or another, this war changes tomorrow." In orbit around Jupiter, Admiral Pierce prepared the remaining Earth fleet for its biggest operation yet. His ships had been hiding, striking quickly and retreating, but now they would engage in a full battle to provide cover for Nicol's mission. "The Conclave thinks we're beaten," he told his crew. "They think Deathworlders know when we're defeated. They're wrong. On Earth, life never surrenders. It adapts." The stealth ship launched under cover of darkness, its engines modified to mimic the radiation signature of common space debris. As it approached the Conclave fleet, Nicol held her breath. Their ship was virtually invisible to conventional sensors, but a visual sighting could still give them away. "Steady," she whispered as they drifted between two Conclave cruisers, just like threading a needle. The massive command ship loomed ahead, its central section glowing with energy from its power core. Nicol's team wore specially designed suits that would let them survive the transition from ship to ship through the vacuum of space. "Ready for external transit," she ordered. "Remember, we'll have 45 seconds from breach to entry. After that, we move as planned through the ship." They attached to the command ship's hull near a maintenance access point. Once inside, they moved quickly through service tunnels barely large enough for humans, and certainly not designed for the taller Viridians. In the central command chamber, Nicol's team discovered something unexpected. The Conclave leadership wasn't what they had imagined. Instead of military commanders, they found what looked like academics, scientists and philosophers from different alien species, all from garden worlds, all looking terrified at the sight of armed humans. "You don't understand what you're doing," said one alien with pale blue skin and large eyes. "Species like yours, you always destroy everything eventually." Nicol kept her weapon raised. "We were peaceful until you attacked us." "Peaceful for now," said another alien, "but your kind evolves through conflict. In time, you would have become a threat to all garden worlds. We had to act first." As Nicol's team secured the command center, Engineer Kevin Matthews and Dr. Rice activated their secret weapon back on Earth, a system-wide electromagnetic pulse tuned specifically to affect Conclave technology while leaving human systems intact. The pulse spread through space at the speed of light. On every Conclave ship, systems began to fail. Weapons went offline. Navigation systems showed only static. For the first time since the war began, the aliens experienced something they were not designed to handle: complete technological failure in a hostile environment. The counterstrike had begun. The Conclave fleet drifted powerless in space. Their perfect ships, designed for efficiency rather than survival, could not adapt to the electromagnetic pulse that had shut down their systems. For the first time, the Garden Worlders faced a situation their technology couldn't solve. Admiral Pierce positioned the rebuilt Earth fleet around the crippled command ship. His finger hovered over the launch button that would send missiles to destroy the alien vessel. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a transmission from Captain Bennett inside the command ship." Nicol's face appeared on screen. She looked tired but determined. "Admiral, hold your fire. I think we need to talk to these people. In the conclave command chamber, Nickel faced the Council of Species, representatives from 22 garden worlds who had never known true hardship. You don't understand what you're asking, said the lead counselor, a slender being with 4 arms and iridescent skin. Cooperation with Deathworlders goes against everything we know about galactic stability. And yet here we are, Nickel replied. Your perfect systems have failed. Your perfect plan has failed. Now you face a choice that Deathworlders make every day: adapt or die. For the first time, the aliens experienced true adversity. Their technology couldn't save them. Their superior numbers couldn't save them. They had to negotiate with humans as equals. What do you propose? Asked the counselor. A new agreement, Nickel said. Humans join the conclave not as subjects but as partners. You have technology and stability. We have something you lack: resilience. Back on Earth, President Carter spoke with Admiral Pierce via secure channel. Are you certain about this? Carter asked. We could end this war right now. We could, Pierce agreed. But Captain Bennett is right. Destroying them doesn't solve the problem. The next Garden World species would fear us just as much. Within the command ship, Nickel showed the Council images from Earth's history, times when humans faced disaster but rebuilt, when civilizations fell but new ones rose. This is what a death world teaches you, she explained. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is perfect. But life continues by adapting. The Council members watched in silence. This concept, that strength came not from avoiding hardship but from overcoming it, was foreign to species that evolved on peaceful worlds. If we agree to this partnership, the lead counselor asked, what would it mean? It means we help each other, Nickel said. You learn resilience from us. We learn stability from you. Together, we're stronger than either of us alone. 48 hours later, the first joint human conclave agreement was signed aboard the U.S. Defiance. The war that had nearly destroyed both sides ended not with surrender, but with understanding. 6 months after that, Commander Jack Mitchell returned to Nova Terra. The outpost where the conflict began was now designated as a training ground where other species could learn from humanity's Deathworld experience. Jack watched as alien diplomats struggled through their first lesson, surviving a simulated Earth thunderstorm. They flinched at every thunder crack, every flash of lightning. They'll learn, said Olivia Winters, now his second in command. It just takes time. Time and patience, Jack agreed. Something Deathworlders have plenty of. An alien delegate approached them, soaking wet but looking oddly pleased. Commander Mitchell, I believe I understand now. On my world, we control the weather. We've never had to adapt to it. Jack smiled. And that's why you feared us. We live our whole lives adapting to things we can't control. As the sun set over Nova Terra's rugged landscape, Jack reflected on how far they had come. The Deathworlders had been pushed to war, but in the end, they had achieved something greater than victory. They had earned respect. Across the galaxy, a new era began, one where the strength of each world, whether garden or death, contributed to the survival of all.